Hello, and welcome to Module 3 of the online course Next Generation Trade Facilitation, Transit Facilitation. Transit facilitation is an important element of trade facilitation and depends on passage through other countries for import and export goods to reach markets. It is of critical importance for landlocked countries, where imports and exports pass through their neighboring countries. In this module, we will cover 4 transit facilitation measures featured in the UNTF survey. They are transit facilitation agreements with neighboring countries. Customs authorities limit the physical inspection of transit goods and use risk assessment. Supporting pre-arrival processing for transit facilitation. And cooperation between agencies of countries involved in transit. This module will showcase the current status of transit facilitation measures and provide examples of good practices of transit facilitation. The term transit is used to refer to the actual movement of goods or passengers and means of transport through one or more third countries. Transit has 2 perspectives, the transport perspective and the customs perspective. The transport perspective is the obligation set out by Article 5 of the GATT and Convention on Transit Trade of landlocked states that countries must allow freedom of transit through their territories. Customs perspective is defined by the WCO Revised Kyoto Convention and refers to the national or international customs transit procedure under which goods are transported under customs control from one customs territory to another. Transit facilitation measures are further provided in the WTO TFA and are intended to reduce the formalities associated with transit trade, which allows the swift flow of goods from one country to another. These measures facilitate economic integration in terms of enhancing regional competitiveness through the economic development of individual countries in the region, increases intra-regional trade, enhances a regional production network leading to further economic integration, encourages the adoption of an international legal framework, and helps to facilitate the harmonization of other trade facilitation measures. The first measure is transit facilitation agreements with neighboring countries. There are a number of transit agreements at international, regional, and sub-regional levels, transport and trade corridor projects, and border management projects to facilitate the transit of goods while minimizing risks of transit fraud and smuggling. For example, the Afghanistan-Pakistan Transit Trade Agreement was signed to facilitate the use of Afghan ports and border crossing points for trade between Pakistan and Central Asian countries. Afghan traders are allowed to export their goods to India and China through Pakistani land, air, and sea routes. The ASEAN Framework Agreement on the Facilitation of Goods in Transit provides the most effective arrangement for facilitating interstate traffic and transit transport among ASEAN countries. The second measure is customs authorities limit the physical inspection of transit goods and use risk assessment. Transportation of dangerous and damaged freight is a complicated area that has serious consequences. This could happen to transit goods when they are inside the territory of a transit country. It needs strategies and tools to reduce such risk while ensuring smooth transit without delay and hindrance. This is particularly the case for landlocked countries and their trading partners. For example, the Integrated Foreign Trade System, or Syscomex transit system, is an internal system of Brazil. Its function is the integration of registration activities, monitoring, and control of foreign trade operations. It is also used to record both the customs transit operations for Brazilian exports and imports and the transit from other countries when they cross the Brazilian territory. The system considers the risk of each operator and automatically applies for the reduction or waiver in each operation. Now we move to supporting pre-arrival processing for transit facilitation. This measure corresponds to Article 11.9 of the WTO-TFA, which provides provisions for advance filing and processing of transit documentation and data before the arrival of goods. As an obligation set out in the TFA, customs shall facilitate low-risk goods while focusing on high-risk goods. To this end, a number of customs have introduced a legal requirement on electronic admissibility information prior to the arrival of goods, particularly for security purposes. This rule applies to all goods brought into or out of the territory regardless of destination, including transit goods. The EU has implemented the electronic prior notification rule since January 2011. As for the transit goods brought into the EU territory by road, an entry summary declaration or a transit declaration containing safety and security data has to be lodged at least 1 hour before arrival. Although Switzerland is a third country, the transit goods between the EU and Switzerland have been waived from the rule. To speed up the transit procedure and clearance times at the border, Switzerland and Germany have established a new computerized transit system, Transito, for advanced filing and processing of transit documentation and data before the arrival of goods. The last measure of this module is cooperation between agencies of countries involved in transit. The Tanzania Revenue Authority, TRA, and the Directorate General of Customs of the Democratic Republic of Congo, DRC, have established a Congo Customs Office in the port of Dar es Salaam in Tanzania for facilitating the clearance of cargo in transit, exchange information relating to the transit of goods, and developing customs cooperation between the two administrations. The Tanzania and Congo Customs interconnectivity has exchanged information relating to the transit of goods and secured goods in a logistic chain between the Tanzanian port of Dar es Salaam and the various borders of Congo. Transit facilitation is an important pillar in trade facilitation, which helps smooth the movement of essential supplies, reduce trade costs, and increase supply chain connectivity. In the case of landlocked countries particularly, most of their trade with countries outside the region moves in transit passing through their neighboring countries. Countries are encouraged to include transit facilitation provisions or agreements in their regional initiatives. They should enhance cooperation between agencies involved in transit and simplify procedures for transit goods using a risk assessment approach. For more information, be sure to visit our website for the list of resources.